Hello, my friends. Another video about the current times and how these are times that no matter what any man tells you, if you walk with Christ, you will not walk in fear of them. You can listen to every one of the watchmen and the prophets and all of these people, and you can hear in their voice. You can see by their faces, because they all love to show their faces on the screen because that's what men do. You can see when they talk about the events of the end, and they're saying, well, here is another sign of coming. The rapture is certainly coming soon. Look at all this that's happened over in the Middle East. You can tell they're talking about it because they fear it. Not because they have the love in them to understand it, but because they are terrified of their own situation. They don't want their comfort in their lives to be broken up because they continue on the status quo of the last 2,000 years. And even though the end is coming and they know it, they still fear it because they do not want the change in their hearts. Outwardly, they can talk to you about how the change is coming and how exciting that it's going to be and all of these things. You can see it. And I believe the reason why God has all of this church, they all post their faces and they all sit and talk in front of the screen. The reason I believe God has arranged this, that it's been ordained, is so that the children of God and those who are seeking Him can see the individual and can see the fear in their eyes. Have you ever wondered why anyone out there, most of this whole saved by grace, once saved, always saved, all of these kind of churches that showed up on the internet that I've been speaking against since the very beginning, they will all show their faces. What do you need to see? Well, they see with their eyes, so with their eyes, they know they speak to each other. What does a child of God do? What do other people do who follow the Lord? Do we need to show our faces? Do we need to declare, like, look at us, look at how wholesome we look at our house is so nice, look at our image? Or are we sewed together with fig leaves and eating wild honey out in the wilderness like John the Baptist? There's a difference, and there is a subtle difference to a child of God and how he will speak, because his words do the talking. He does not need to show himself. He shows himself by his words. Against that church, which constantly has to have you watching them so you can see how great they are, so you can see how glorious their lives are, and so you can see how, I don't know, good looking or something, or I have no idea what these people actually are thinking, but in their hearts, I know what the reason is that they do it. They do it so they can put on the image that they are happily in love with God, and God is doing all these miraculous things that they can see. Yet God has said, just watch them and observe them. And when you watch and observe them, and you watch what they're saying and speaking of when it comes to the end times, and you watch these videos that they put out about the end time signs and all these disasters and wars and everything that's happening in the world, you can literally see the fear in their eyes. They are living on a lesser covenant. The time will come, and it is up to God whom and who He chooses out of this group. The time will come where they will turn faithful. That has nothing to do with you and I. We are faithful now. We are Israel. We are the church now. We are all of these things because we followed the covenant from the beginning until the end. You know, the promise was given to Abraham that his children will go all over the earth. They will shine like the stars in the heavens. Over every nation will be children of Abraham. That promise has been fulfilled. God has fulfilled it. We are all over the whole world, in every nation, not just Western countries. We're everywhere. Actual children of God are over the whole world and shine like stars of Abraham by their understanding and their knowledge of who and what God is and what He is doing. Our words do our talking, not the physical things. Did you come to see somebody put on a show? Like Christ came into the temple and saw them all sitting at their tables, putting on a show and flipped the tables over? Or do you come to hear the truth? The truth needs not to put on a show. It speaks and stands for itself. And God has said, if you want this, I will give it to you. Here you go. Here's your ministries. Here's your churches. Here's your glorification of each other. Meanwhile, those who know me will see you, and they will see the fear in your eyes and know that you have not experienced the love by seeing that fear. There is nothing to fear. All the little children, there is nothing to fear in this world. Nothing will harm us. Nothing will happen to us, no matter what happens in the world. And I've made this statement before. There is no promise that Sodom and Gomorrah will not go down while the children of God are still in the world, because those are the days of Lot. I truly believe that when Sodom and Gomorrah, New York City and California, when they go down, there will be witnesses in those two places that God will forcefully remove them, and they will be a witness to that. The children will still be on the earth, possibly. I don't even know that, but I do understand that it can happen while the children are still here. God has made no promises not to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, even with the children in the world. But guess what God has done through the movement of the Spirit? Look at the statistics on people who live in California and live in New York. They are the top two places where people are moving out of them. And why would that be? It's an exodus before the grand exodus. Everything is a foreshadowing of something else that is coming. The Spirit has people moving out of those areas without them even realizing it, because God has promised to save all of those who are good in those areas. So many of them are going to come out now. In fact, most of them will come out before the disaster strikes. Yet there will be even a remnant in those two areas that will be a testimony of God and His love. For the destruction will come upon them, and they will be forcefully removed, just like Lot was. So understand, we can even see it in Paul's writing, 1 Corinthians 13. And now these three remain. So he's not saying that anything else is there. He's saying these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. What has Paul excluded? He has excluded fear. Fear does not remain for children of God. Fear does not remain for the servants of God who spoke God's word for the last 2,000 years and are buried in their graves waiting the day of resurrection. Fear does not remain for them, just as it doesn't remain for us. So then why should children be fearing? And the answer is they don't. We understand what's happening. We know what's coming. And we know we're protected. It's our shield. Our shield is that hope and faith. But the greatest of all of those things is love. And the reason you will see this church that has exploded, which is the false revival, you will see them in how they fear. And by their fear, do you know they have never seen the love? So you can tell right away they've rejected the love in place of the old, just like they believe that Israel in the Middle East is God's chosen people and the Jews, just like they believe that. The reason they believe that and the reason they fear is because they do not have the love. They did not see God and all of His love that He shows. So you see now the events that are playing out, especially with this whole the Middle Eastern saga with Iran and everything that's going on. You can see the world living in fear. And this is just one little thing. There will come many greater things than that. You had an actress come on and say, "Oh, please forgive us, Iranian people. Please don't come over and kill us." The reason that people fear is because they do not know God. They do not walk with Him to see the love. And they're trying to preserve the flesh, even though they know it's passing away. So they will give up freedom and enter into bondage for the sake of remaining one more day on this world. They will give up their freedom. They do not any longer want to be free. They want to preserve their own lives. So they will beg and plead not to remain free, but to greatly enter into slavery so that they can be the last ones that get devoured by the shark, so to speak. There's an old saying that, you have an alligator and the alligator eats you the last while you're still eaten by the alligator. And that's what's happening in the world. We see the world of people who do not know God trying to self-perseverance for even one more day. That's why they don't want any attacks to happen overseas. They don't want to stir up any of the pot because their spirit knows disaster is coming, but their spirit doesn't know the way out of it. And the way out of it, my friends, for the children of God, is the rapture which is coming. And we know no fear of this, because we know the greater of all of those things, the love. God bless.